Welcome to Command Control Power, Apple Tech Support and Business Talk, the longest-running Apple consulting podcast. For over a decade, we've released weekly episodes featuring real-world stories from the front lines of tech support, in-depth discussions about managing clients and businesses, and conversations with fellow consultants and industry partners. What you're about to hear is a best-of episode originally broadcast on March 2017, a classic installment from our archives. To hear our latest, regularly recorded episodes, you'll need to subscribe to our Patreon-exclusive podcast feed. Designed specifically for Apple IT professionals, this private feed dives deeper into the challenges of running your consultancy, supporting your clients, managing staff, and maintaining large device fleets. For a modest monthly contribution, you'll gain access to a rich library of bonus content, exclusive interviews, and insights you won't find anywhere else. To subscribe, simply visit commandcontrolpower.com and click support.
Hi, this is Jerry Zigmont, and we're very proud to present to you the 200th anniversary show of Command Control Power. We thought for the momentous occasion that we would all record in the same studio. It did unfortunately present some unexpected audio glitches. We'd like to thank Tom Bridge of the Mac Admins podcast, who suggested that we reach out to James Smith, who does their audio editing. James stepped in at the last minute and resurrected this recording, so it was at least somewhat listenable. We'd also like to tell the listener that 20 minutes in, the recording actually improves. On behalf of Joe, myself, and Sam, we apologize. Hope you can still sit back and enjoy the show. Thanks.
Welcome to Command Control Power, a weekly podcast hosted by 3 certified members of the Apple Consultants Network, drawing from over 30 years combined experience. We talk shop, interview vendors and colleagues, and share what we've learned while operating our technology consulting practices. This is Joe Saponare of CyMac, and my 2 co-hosts are Sam Valencia of the HCS Technology Group and Jerry Zigmont of MacWorks. We are live at commandcontrolpower.com the first Tuesday of every month, where new episodes are posted weekly. Thanks for listening.
You're recording, right? It's more than
We're recording.
Reunited and it feels so good. Reunited and it's all understood.
So for the record, 2 beers? 3 beers? 2 and a half. Some glass shards did it. I think it was the glass shards.
But it was the pale ale. It was a 60-minute.
Okay.
So
Okay.
It's got a higher
alcohol content.
Right.
Got it. That was very nice, Jerry, that you serenaded us. Thank you for the mic test.
What was that for, though?
For our 200th episode.
We're here, and we're live, and we're
together.
That's right. We are together. We are live. I'd like to thank the patrons who joined us for the...
all 2 of them.
Right. We'd like to thank our most dedicated fans.
All 3 of them.
All 3 of them, exactly. Kevin Ginger, I think Kevin was first, right? And then Alan jumped on there, Alan Hancock, Watchman Monitoring. And then Guillaume Jet, yes.
Yeah. All the
So
way from
international
France.
representation, yeah.
Right, who woke himself up out of a sound sleep to just get a glimpse.
Yeah. It was fun. It was fun to figure out Google Hangouts and Skype and, recording that and, piping audio out to our live listeners and popping a bottle of scotch while we're at it. It's an interesting experience. So now we know for episode 300, we know how to do this. We'll have flying cars by then. We could do it from the air.
It's true. We won't have the sound issues. It is good to be all back in the same room together. I mean, how rare is that we actually get to do that? It's
That's
a rare
true.
thing. We live reasonably close to each other. We're within an hour proximity of driving time, but we never choose to see each other. So that should tell you something right there. We never choose to, yeah. We have the option to, but we choose not to.
Exactly. It's actually more complicated to record live in person, we've found. That's probably why this doesn't happen more often. It's actually much easier to do this remotely. People think it's like really impressive that you guys are in 3 different places when you record and all this stuff. It's like way easier just to be in the comfort of your own home and office and, headphones on, mic adjusted, and
And we won't regale you with the first year of recording, but it was pretty much took a full year before we all met each other for a party in the same building.
Yeah.
Actually, at Sam's house for a wine party.
A wine party, that's right.
Yeah, but we had recorded multiple episodes and really had not gotten together. Joe, I don't think you and I met at all.
right?
We had talked on the phone.
Right. I don't think we had met
in person
until then.
And you were buddies with Sam, and that was a well-established relationship. And I don't know what you were thinking when you called me up.
I think you called me.
Well, yeah, I was looking for some sort of commission for Lightspeed referrals.
Oh, it was something like that. Yeah. You were filling me out about Lightspeed and whether I wanted, whether I was planning to kind of stay on board there. And
I told you I was getting a lot of Lightspeed referrals, and I said it would be a shame if you should miss these referrals that I'm getting because I could, make a lot of money for it. What can you offer me? I think is what I said.
Right, exactly.
And you said, well, I can't offer you much, but how about joining me in this podcast with Sam Valencia?
Right, and it was born. So episode 200. This is exciting.
Have we gotten any better since the first show? I don't know.
It's gotten a little bit easier, like with regards to, we can just kind of jump on and be like, so what do you guys want to talk about? And then somebody's always got a story.
Right. The official title, although we haven't recorded the episode yet, is Off the Rails. So we don't know how far off the rails we'll actually be tonight. But I wanted to discuss T-shirts for Aces. Are we going to do anything with T-shirts for Aces?
We just sold a few more. I think when somebody wants to order a few, they just print them again. So we sold a few more of the original design.
But what can people do to, show interest for T-shirts?
Go on Patreon and pledge. Yeah.
Listening.
So tell me a little bit about Patreon, because I want to hear about that.
Well, Patreon's great. You can go on and you can pledge to support the show, a few bucks a month. Really appreciate it. And we will mention your name on the show. We'll mention your name on the website if you so choose. And it just shows your support, and it really helps us continue to show up to make the show, which we've been doing for now 200 episodes. It's obviously a labor of love, as we like to say, but it really helps when we get a little bit of community support. We really appreciate all the support we get from our patrons, and you can join them by going to commandcontrolpower.com and clicking on support, and that'll take you to our Patreon page to support the show.
We'll shout your name for the highest tower in town.
If you want to go shout somebody's name from the highest point in town.
Kevin Ginger! There you go. For example.
Exactly. So what do you guys want to talk about?
Well, I had an interesting thing happen to me today. And again, we're not supposed to necessarily talk about tech, but I will talk about this, that I got a call from a client who was running Microsoft Outlook for Mac 2011. And all of a sudden, she couldn't send and receive email. And it was working fine before, and she was all worried because she was getting these notifications from Google. Her account may be accessed from a location that she was unfamiliar with, and it was several towns over. The way to solve this was we had to go into her Google account and select a setting which said allow access from less secure apps.
Oh, yeah.
Once we did that, she was able to send and receive from her Microsoft Office 2011. So I wasn't completely aware that this was an issue right now, but it seems to be that there's been some recent changes with updates where that's perceived by Google now as a less secure app. So if you ever come across this, I mean, it's a pretty easy solution, but it took me about 45 minutes of billable time to figure that one out. Ka-ching.
Round that out to an hour?
Yeah, I rounded down a little bit. I felt a little bad for...
I had a similar situation with a scanner. A client was using a printer scanner unit to scan to email, and it stopped working at some point. She had moved, and she thought it was related to that. But I went in there and I found the same thing. It was giving an error. I forget what the clue was. It was something like, I think she got an email from Google saying like you attempted to sign in like you're describing, and it mentioned something about a less secure app, and so I figured, okay, this must be related to the scan we just tried to do, which didn't work, or which didn't email. Yeah, sure enough, that solved it. We went in to enable access for less secure apps, and I guess it's okay. What do you guys think about whether that's secure enough?
I mean, what are you going to do about it? The option is to have them update their software on the spot, right?
Which, in this case, the scanner, I mean, what could she have done? She just basically couldn't send from a Google account in that case.
Exactly. I don't know the implications of doing so in terms of the back-end details on the security end, but on the Google side, from what you were describing, Jerry, I've had to do that a couple of times before, and it's I guess we'll call it a quick fix, but it gets the job done. And hindsight, you could ask the end user or the company to upgrade because it's the necessary next step anyway.
In the immediate need, you got the job done. In my opinion, you should have built an hour, 45 minutes. But
yeah, it would have been cheaper for her to upgrade and to pay me the hour, $20 to $99 to Microsoft.
Well, you'd have to figure that out for her too. So,
Right.
I mean, would she have known to do that on her own? Probably not. That's a tough call. We talk about this sometimes because things are really quick sometimes. If you know what you're doing, I did something today where I was helping a client sync one password, and I connected his Mac. I was at a coffee shop in between appointments, and I opened up TeamViewer. I emailed him. He had emailed me. I emailed him to open TeamViewer, and I requested the connection. He connected me. I was in and out in a matter of 5 minutes to get one password to just update successfully. If I didn't know what I was doing already, that would have taken probably 20 minutes or something like that. It took 5. You know, I felt a little weird charging him for a quick fix, when it was so quick. It was so quick, but could have taken longer if I had flailed around a little bit or didn't know what I was doing. So
On the flip side of that, though, I mean, we talk about the times where you are flailing because you're not familiar with the situation, and then you have to build down.
it's true.
Because you're like, all right, this took me 2 hours, but if I knew what I was doing on this particular topic, it could have taken me 45 minutes. So I mean, you go back and forth with those situations, and you're chilling at a coffee shop. Sounds like that's a nice life, but.
Right. But I mean, I'm also stacking my calendar back to back. It's like, it's not, I'm popping at the coffee shop to check email, and then, got to do some remotes too. And then look at the day, and it's like back to back, very little breathing room. I feel like that's justification to me that I can charge for those little appointments, forego my little break in between.
Speaking of coffee shops, though, I find that little Starbucks app makes it a lot easier to spend money. I don't know why, but it's if I throw a little, let's say I throw $25 on that little Starbucks app, and it's just easy for me to get a larger coffee than I normally would get.
Yeah, it's like it's free.
Yeah,
So you're not really paying for it because it's on the app.
Right.
For those U.S. listeners, one of the things that we recently did at MacWorks headquarters was, for years now, I've been on one of those original grandfathered AT&T plans where it was for unlimited data. And AT&T has recently been pressured by Verizon because Verizon has recently released some unlimited data plans. So now finally AT&T has had to sort of match them. Currently, there's an extremely affordable plan for multiple phones where it doesn't necessarily make it more attractive. I know we were talking about this a few shows back. You should go back and review your data plans or your phone plans, your smartphone plans. So I was able to combine my grandfathered unlimited data and my wife's together, and we're paying like a little bit more than the cost of one phone that I was singularly paying for. Plus, we have the ability to do a Wi-Fi hotspot. Now, if you're an AT&T user, you're very familiar with AT&T. Always there was a secondary upcharge for adding an Wi-Fi hotspot to your phone, whereas if you were a Verizon user, that came with the plan. So now AT&T has again been pressured where they have to offer the hotspot plan for free as well, or the hotspot feature. You simply can add 1, 2, up to 3 or 4 phones, multiple tiers, but still extremely affordable for a family plan. And it's the very first time in my business that I've actually had a Wi-Fi hotspot on my phone.
And I feel extremely enabled, where I could sit in the car and I could do a quick little remote session. And I'm really styling now. I'm remoted in, just don't really appreciate how wonderful that is. I had it on an iPad mini, which was on the Verizon plan. So I would enable the hotspot feature on that. So that's what I had been using up to this point. But to have the convenience of having it right there on your phone through AT&T and not having to pay some other upcharge is really liberating. So if you're on AT&T, I really urge you to go take a look at your plan and see some of the new offerings that they have.
I actually moved off of the grandfathered plan ages ago because I was holding on to it for a long time, but then I was like, I need the hotspot. I moved over to it. But in the last, I'd say maybe 2 years, my daughter has a phone and my data usage has gone through the roof. So I called up AT&T and I said, what are our options? And they told me a couple of options it wasn't a terrible expense, like maybe $20 more for the next plan up and then another $15 for unlimited. I was like, you know what, guys, why would I pay you that when T-Mobile down the road has these options? As soon as I said that, they're like, hold on for another department. And I get, like the disconnect department.
Attention,
yeah. What can we do for you, sir? You've been with us a long time. They upped my usage for the same cost. They just bumped it up. I didn't get to unlimited, but I don't really need it, I don't think. I mean, I have enough places where I'm Wi-Fi enabled. They bumped me up by another 4 gigs a month for exactly the same cost. So
nice.
I agree with you. All you have to do is place that phone call, And they'll usually try their best to hold on to you, especially with all the crazy Sprint and T-Mobile plans that are out there.
Can you just call and ask for the retention department? Can you just be like, hi, can I speak to the retention department, please?
Hey, look, I'm leaving, guys. Just put me through.
Right,
Let's not do the song and dance.
I'd like to disconnect my account. Let's start there.
So this is broadcast on March 21st, and Apple released some new iPads today, which put me half to sleep. But I was really surprised that they didn't do anything with the SE. I was almost sure we would see some sort of revision to your favorite phone, Sam.
I love that phone.
Yeah, that's a great phone. And we wanted to get one for our daughter who's coming of age and needs to get a mobile device when her mom needs to contact her at school. I was severely disappointed that we didn't get a refresh to the SE.
As was I. I actually still get crap about it. I still get crap about it whenever I take the phone out of my pocket and people are like, is that an iPhone 5? I'm like, no, it's an SE. Give me a break.
It's an iPhone Junior.
Yeah, exactly.
So what did they release? I saw the product read iPhone, and then Jerry, you've been talking about the boring iPad update. So what did they do? Can we summarize? Can you summarize for me? Because I don't know.
Yeah,
Sam, what did they release?
Don't put it on me, man. You're the one that brought it up.
I've been drinking from a broken beer bottle.
I do want to take a moment to give special thanks to my daughter who made us special 200 episode cupcakes for tonight. Incredibly excited when I told her it was our 200th episode. She ran home and made some cupcakes, which we all enjoyed. Too bad you listeners can't partake. Maybe I'll bring some over to Aces when we head over to Phoenix later on.
They were light, fluffy, and delicious. And they said they had the number 200 on them, which
yeah, that was a nice,
very nice touch.
Close to my age.
Oh. I don't know, guys. I'm looking at the iPad page here. I don't see.
So you're not excited, is what you're saying?
I'm seeing a lot of feeds and speeds, but like I need a comparison to the old models.
I need a new iMac for my clients' businesses. I'm sure you guys are waiting as well. You have plenty of clients in queue waiting for the new iMacs.
Waiting for the new iMacs? Not really. I mean, we haven't been telling people to hold off much on the iMac, so we're selling a few here and there.
All right, don't forget about you, Joe. Sam?
I can't. I think I have to side with Joe.
For God's sakes. I've got lots of people actually waiting and knowing that something is coming and they're holding off buying. So
interesting. Yeah, see, I had that with the MacBook Pro for like 2 years or something. We were waiting, but iMac. I mean, I know like the big one. They're both, I think, like over a year old, right? Something like that, a year plus. They're pretty decent machines as they are. So, but I could understand like a Pro wanting a machine that's going to last, that much longer if they're in the market.
So we mentioned briefly at the head of the show that we are going to ACES. I think it's only fitting that I pass the baton over to Sam, who'll tell you a little bit about the ACES conference that's coming up in Phoenix, because we're going to be there. We're going to be doing a live show, and we're really excited about it. This is one of the
only conferences in the United States that really speaks to the Apple professional and helps you run your business.
I think we were all blown away when we went there last year because it was so focused on our consultancies, not just a tech-oriented conference. So we were there to learn about better business practices, who we can learn from within our peers, some of the amazing speakers that were there. And of course, like you said, Jerry, we got to do a great live show, which was incredible because we got to see a lot of our fans in person. ACES conference in 2017 is May 31st, if I'm not mistaken. It's a 2-day conference out in Phoenix, Arizona. All of our listeners can go to acesconf.com and use the word command as the discount code to receive 10% off the current ticket price.
And don't miss our special live recording on Wednesday. That's day one of the conference. At the end of the sessions, we will be doing a live show from ACES. So definitely get your ACES tickets at acesconf.com. Coupon code COMMAND, as Sam said, and sign up and be there, and you can participate in our live recording of Command Control Power. Looking forward to it.
So I was hot under the collar today and yesterday, which you guys saw some text from me about. I was going through a quite frustrating experience that I just needed you guys to be involved in and feel my pain, I think, because those days where they're just going horribly wrong for you and you feel like you have nobody to turn to because you're there on site by yourself. And it's starting to get to a better situation. But the fact of the matter is, and I do like this client, but this is a residence that's run like a business. And what I mean by that is they have managers and people that run the household, and they have different properties that they deal with. You got a call out of the blue at the end of last week. I happened to be away for a couple of days when they told me we have a new AV company coming in and they're putting in all new equipment, and they need access to the switches, and they need changes on the sonic wall. We send someone in because I was away. They let us know literally 24 hours before they were arriving, which was frustrating to say the least. And all of their requests that they needed couldn't be done right on the spot. They're actually a small team of people that manages this. But the AV company was kind of caught off guard too, because the organization or the residents are so concerned about privacy that they didn't give them a lot of information walking in the door. So we have two teams that don't know anything about each other and don't know a lot about the job that's to be done and the task at hand. So a really frustrating task, to say the least. I felt a need to sit down with the client or with the managers of the household and just talk with them. And I do like them, so it became a conversation of telling them how it is. Let's say not harsh tone, but in a way that they had to understand they need to work with us and we need to put it in every piece of this conversation and every decision that they make on the IT side. So they kind of learned their lesson there, but that doesn't mean that they didn't still want this job done yesterday. They had people in the house wiring equipment, getting everything ready, and the backbone, the infrastructure wasn't ready. So that was a little bit rough, and that's why I was texting you guys how fired up I was about this whole thing. But on top of it, when I also texted you guys, I was on site. I decided, I'm going to make a minor change to this managed switch so that we allow communication on this VLAN. So I go into the switch and make a change to one port on the switch, just one port out of this 48-port switch. And I hit save settings and everything blows out. Wireless goes down, hardwired devices, DHCP, they're no longer receiving DHCP addresses. I got the house manager coming down the stairs going, what's wrong? I'm trying to do QuickBooks transaction. At the same time, the AV vendor is there and they're calls. And all because a button that said save. You know those feelings like you can feel your temperature rise? You feel all the pressure on you at that time. And I was in complete freak out mode. At the same time, the place there's no cellular. It's kind of out in the boonies. It's a residence of a person that owns a business. So it's
pornography, isn't it?
It is not. I'm sure we've had some shady practices that we've dealt with, but this is not. And I am sworn to secrecy on this particular job. I don't think you'd be interested in it. And I'm standing there because Wi-Fi goes down. I have no cellular to at least cry for help to anyone. And I just said, okay, I take a deep breath. And I actually talked with a gentleman that was there from the AV company. He's like, have a seat, man. He's like, let's talk. He's like, you look like you need to calm down a little bit.
Wow, is that bad?
Yeah, because I was like,
oh, man.
I walked out of the room. It was a basement room where all the equipment was. And I think I just looked white as a ghost. And I just didn't know what to do because everything went down. I couldn't connect. I connected directly to the switch. I gave myself a static IP to try and connect. Put this all to bed. In the end, I ended up just rebooting the managed switch. Some of those managed switches, they let the fan go real loud and they reboot and it takes a couple of minutes. And I'm just waiting there praying. I'm standing there just, let me see the wireless network. And as soon as they start to populate again, I just was able to breathe. It was a rough morning. I felt my temperature go and I felt that everything was riding on me at that time. I'm sure we've all had those moments.
So why did it go down? It just didn't want to immediately register the change. It needed a reboot.
And that's the funny part is I said, okay, maybe I did something incorrectly, but when I rebooted it,
my change was there. The port worked. This is, by the way, a brocade switch. I don't usually work with those. My knowledge on those switches is minimal, but the change I had to make wasn't the deal. But I don't know. Apparently, I freaked out when I did it. So then I just backed away. I said, guys, I'm not doing any more work today. I'm out. We'll set up a meeting for a future day and we'll get this work done after that.
That's a wise step, I think, at that point. Once you get it back up and running, you draw the line. You just, yeah. Well, because at this point, you may have issues with the equipment. Maybe the switch is on, dodgy. Yeah, exactly.
I just came back from England, so dodgy is like a big word.
So I have an idea for a few shows. Now, we've done some of these topics before, and we've talked about some of them before. A couple ideas are this. So residential roundtable. So any consultants out there who deal with residential clients, I know we're fewer and fewer. I deal with residential clients. I know you guys have some residential clients. Jerry, I know the voice you use for residential clients. I've never heard it live before.
Jerry's impersonations.
I think it means that you're sort of whittling down your residential client base, not necessarily looking for new work there.
I know a lot of my residential clients listen to this and potential residential clients are listeting to the podcast. So I don't want to blindly put that out there.
You think a lot of potential residential clients
I do.
They're vetting us.
I think that there's money to be made there. You just need to choose your residential clients wisely. I'm not completely down residential clients, and some are very happy to deal with you as a professional, and others you just need to sort of just separate the wheat from the chaff. So I think
hard
you
to do that.
it's sometimes you just can't take it all on, and people's expectations are so enormous these days.
Yeah, I mean, it's also highly variable. So you have the type of residential client with the very high expectations and the sort of residence that Sam's describing, where it's run more like a business than anything. The same kind of high standards for uptime and availability, and the same kind of bulletproof systems and stuff like that, and the same vendors showing up and teams of people working. And then you have residential clients who once or twice a year just need like need a visit to update the firmware on the airports and and help with a couple little questions. So I've thought for a long time now it would be really nice to do a focus on residential consultants who deal with residential clients. So a residential roundtable. So anybody who has some thoughts on this topic, reach out to us and we'll put together a show where we can talk to a few of our colleagues about their own experiences with residential clients.
I think that's a great point. I think there's a certain residential, we'll call it a sensibility that you need to have. It's a different outfit you need to wear and a different set of variables in dealing with the client than dealing with a business client. So I think that's really would be helpful to a lot of our listeners to hear some professional opinions and tips from people who do this full on. I think there's a real skill set that you need to develop. As Kenny Rogers said, when to hold them and when to fold them.
Right, yeah. Exactly. That's another topic probably for that same show or maybe for another show, just when to fold them. How do you make that decision? Jerry, I can probably learn something from you. You have a hair trigger when it comes to like firing a client. And I really could stand to benefit from that because I have a lot of clients. You've called me a saint and whatever. It's for dealing with some of the stuff I deal with. And it's for lots of reasons. It's for usually self-interested reasons. Like if we fire this client, they're going to badmouth us all over town or whatever. But getting into that situation in the first place where we're helping clients that have these high expectations, impossible to meet expectations sometimes. I just need the skills to know when to say no to people initially or how to sort of gracefully exit those scenarios.
Last week's show, you referred to that, the impact of letting a certain client go had more of a global effect for you, or at least a regional effect. And I think that's an unusual circumstance. I don't think in most cases letting the mayor go of the town spreads down to the constituents. I mean, it could happen.
It's funny you mentioned the mayor. You should ask Judy about that.
You don't have a mayor, do you?
No, I don't. No. But it's
Mayor
funny.
McCheese, I think.
No, that's it's just interesting you mentioned the mayor, but
well, you couldn't say if you did. I don't think
exactly right. But residential clients in general are tend to be a whole different kettle of fish, as I think you've said before, and that's an interesting topic. So what about the topic we've talked about before, office or no office? Sam, I know you're very interested in this subject right now, especially, and some consultants have the home office, some have this legitimate separate office space like I do, and there's pros and cons to both. So I think there's a lot to talk about there too.
It's one that's over our 200 episodes. I've probably talked about 100 times. It's something that I struggled with for a while. And now with us back on the hunt looking for it, it's changed the scope of what we're thinking. Because for a while I was big time on office and then I was talked out of it. And while I've been talked out of it, now we've come into a situation where we have a need for office space. And I feel like I'm, schizophrenic at times, just not knowing which way I want to go with it. Yeah. I mean, I told you this in the past. Walking into your office, I was like, I want one. Right. Just seeing how you guys set it up from scratch and seeing the vision of the space and everything like that changes things. So we've been looking around. Obviously, the expense is there, but then I started to think about it in realistic terms. I started to look at the rents in the area and thinking, I don't know if you did this or not, but I was thinking, okay, how many hours does that really take a month? If I get a few more hours due to walk-ins, right, where we can do repair on our bench or something like that you take care of, that might cover half my rent in no time. I've started to think about that more. I mean, it does change because we do more MSPs, so those hourly things don't always happen. If I don't talk too much, I'll get to that topic when it comes to hiring too, but I'm there again. But I've started to compare it in the fact of what can I get extra out of my clients? How can I bill for that to pay for the space? And if you can justify it in terms of hours or under contract or something, then it obviously becomes worth it. And if you have a staff, too.
I think that's a good way to look at it is how can you pay for it? How can you make it an endeavor that it has, not only the expense line item, but like a corresponding income line item that helps offset the cost, if not completely cover it. For example, like you said, the walk-in business, labor, we definitely do more labor now than we did when it was my 700 square foot condo, 350 square feet of which were my office, / kitchen. That alone can really make the difference, just being able to like have a whole new department of your business basically with the labor stuff. But then again, there's, aside from just the rent, there's like other costs to consider. There's like, well, we need a water delivery every month. It's like that's minimal, but things like that
add up, right?
Yeah, it all adds up. So we need snacks. We keep snacks on hand, which I'd probably do anyway. But, again, it's like, and these are not needs in a strict sense, but they're like incidental costs that come along with doing an office.
If you've been following the show, Sam sort of has a mandate to find an office based on some assistantship that he's getting from the state for a small business. And that's a great thing. What's echoing in my ears is Charles Edge, who has been a guest of our show, who we have a tremendous amount of respect for. He works for Jamf, and he's also one of the co-hosts of the Mac Admins podcast. And Charles told us in no uncertain terms, having your own office invites a whole host of problems. So I think if we did indeed do a show like that, it would be great to have him on to get his counterpoint.
I think he ended up being the last person that finally turned me away from it. I heard Charles speak. I think it was actually at Aces.
That's right.
When we were all there,
He
and
came
I
up
said,
to the mic.
okay, I'm done. I'm not taking the office space now, and that was it. But then I thought about the time a couple years ago when a client came to my house unexpectedly because my address was listed at the time, and he comes with a computer. I'm outside playing with my kids in shorts and a t-shirt, and I'm like, okay, how you doing? Watch out for the dog poop as you walk to the lawn. It's just a little weird to deal with the client on that level.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of nice to have a space where you feel comfortable inviting clients to drop something off or pay you a visit or pick something up. And it's impressive to them if you, like you said, set it up the way you like, and they walk in and they're impressed with the scale of your operation too. So there's maybe you can't put a number on that, but maybe you sign one more managed service client because they look at you and say, oh, you have an office, you're going to be here a while.
There's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot of weight and a lot of gravitas in having your own office like you've got here. I mean, Joe's got a wonderful office that we're recording this podcast tonight. And early on, when I first started my consulting business, I was very proud of the fact that I was optimized through Google for my SEO. Of course, one of the things that I always included was my business address. So my business address was my home. I've since changed to a post office box on my business cards. During those first couple of years of operation, people going up and down our street, we live on a very quiet little street, sort of like driving my house really slow and sort of giving these strange looks. It's like, why is that car going so slow by the house?
They all had an Apple logo in the back window and you never put it together.
And then driving on like really fast. And then all of a sudden pressing the accelerator and taking off down the street. There's a lot of very valid reasons for not wanting to share your private address, your private residence with clients. You could have a client where business or residential, and things could not necessarily go as well as one would expect, as they expected or you expected. And all of a sudden they sort of know where you live. And that's like a bad scene.
Well, there's also practical concerns too. Like when we got the office and I started to realize, well, I've got labor in process now at the office and I want to leave at some point in a reasonable time today. And, it used to be I could just pop downstairs at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. and just, click a button to finish an update or something like that. And now I've got to sort of time these things and think about it. And, so it doesn't get done till the next morning, or maybe I've got remote access to those machines. So there's little concerns and considerations to think about. But I think it's a good topic maybe to toss around too. So if anybody has strong opinions on office or no office, I think that could be an upcoming show.
I don't want to hear it anymore. I've made my decisions.
So office?
No one tell me anything. No, just kidding. Yeah, I mean, I have made that decision, but I am still curious of people's opinions on the matter.
But what Joe is saying is you can't wear your jammies and work on the computers anymore at home.
Well, I had a client today. I was working from home in the morning. I had a remote in the morning. And, sometimes that's a convenience of just being able to do a remote first thing and not show up at the office at 9 o'clock. So I'm on this remote in the morning. And it was to connect a bunch of new equipment to this client in the city. And so we were doing this remotely, and she said, right before the call started, she emailed me and said, do you want to FaceTime? And I was like, and I made up an excuse on the fly, but it was basically like,
Your hair?
I'm in like a t-shirt right now. And like, yeah, right. I didn't have time to do my hair. Well, she thought like it would be helpful for me to see the course of, and I'm like, it's like, I have it in my mind. I wrote the email laying out exactly where everything needs to connect, so like I had a plan already in mind, so I didn't really need to see it. And I thought it would be awkward to be like, well, like I'll FaceTime so I can see so I can see you, but you can't see me or something. This happened with Tim once where a client said, let's use Skype or something like that. And they put the Skype video on, and we don't usually do that, but he got kind of like, tricked into like just getting on this Skype call, and he sees the video of the client. So they say, I can't see you to him. He's like, you don't need to see me. Cause that's like the logical answer. Like, you don't need to see me. Like, I need to see what you're doing, but you don't need to see me. And they were like really offended by it. They like, what, I don't know what they just took it wrong. And the client was very offended by that comment, but
right. But wasn't there some full frontal that was involved there?
Could be, that he didn't hold up his end of the, you show me.
By the way, for the record, Joe does have on fuzzy slippers right now. That's all I'm saying, and he's in his office.
It is funny because it's like, you don't need to see us. Like, I can see your screen. I was thinking about it this morning. It's like, it's a very one-way, almost like power dynamic, because we can see their whole screen. We can see the email to their cousin about the situation their aunt is in right now or whatever. It's like this very personal stuff that's like alongside all the tech stuff we're going to be dealing with. They don't need to see us, and that's actually makes our job way easier to just be able to like do two things at once. Right. Like, I can see your screen, I can respond to this other email right now. And that's how you get efficient service, is like, I can do two things at once. I don't necessarily need to give you my full attention while you're telling me the story of how the computer got this way. Usually I already have a pretty good idea about that.
This has actually happened more than once, where I was remoting into a client's computer. We're working with them, and I'm actually just watching their screen as they're showing me something. And they open up like something like Photo Booth by mistake, which immediately turns on their camera. Yep. They're just like, oh crap, I just want to do that. And they like hide away from the screen and kind of to the side.
That and just like the stuff that sometimes pops up in photos, they plug in their phone and the photos opens and nobody's expecting it or whatever.
I've said more than one occasion, I'm going to disconnect now. It's just let you wrap that up.
or I'll sometimes like try to imply that like I may not have seen whatever the thing was they probably didn't want me to see, because of course you don't react when it pops up on screen like, oh man, what? Whoa!
Command Shift 3 and then you.
Yeah, exactly right. No, but then I'll say something in a minute. They'll be like, so well, what do you think about this? And I'll be like, let me switch back to your screen now. Like as if maybe I wasn't looking at it like a minute ago. Man. On the other hand, sometimes they're, as I always joke, they want to close everything first. So you're connected, you're ready to fix the problem. You know exactly what it is. And they're like, let me just, and you notice you don't have mouse control yet because they're still moving the mouse and stuff. And they're, let me just close this and close this. And do you want me to quit my email? It's like, no, can I just do my job right now? Just let go of the mouse.
Have you ever been in those remote sessions where you're poking away and you're using something like TeamViewer and you ask them that really burning question, are you touching the computer at all right now?
Right.
And you say it slightly agitated and you're trying to catch yourself and trying to be a little bit calm. Then you say, please don't touch the computer for a moment.
Right, right. That is a very good point, because I try to be very diplomatic and help, be very like neutral about everything and try not to like insult. And there's no good way to say that. Like that catches me every time where it seems like I don't have mouse control right now. I'm trying to move the mouse. Are you?
That's much more.
I guess that's the best I can do. Like, are you touching the mouse right now? Like, yeah, just don't.
Or your hands anywhere near the computer.
Right. Why don't you go in the other room? I got it from here. Relating that story to the office story, I had a client recently who said, my internet's not working. I need some help. I can be there in 45 minutes. He's in Queens or somewhere. And he says, I can be there in 45 minutes. I said, well, first of all, if your internet's not working, we need to do this while you're home. Like, we can't really troubleshoot that when you bring the computer here. Right. It's not going to be a problem. But aside from that, like, we don't do appointments in our office. So I don't know, Sam, what you think about like doing that when you get an office, how your policy might evolve. And I'm curious what other listeners say, but we really make it a point not to do. We're just not set up for doing visits here. Like, I guess I could do it in my office here at my desk. I might as well be on site for that time.
Will you do like a consultation so that they can, like, they want to bring it in for a repair or something, but you'll do like a sit down consultation with them, but not a full on, like, let's spend a couple hours.
Right. Like if they have like a laundry list of things we need to deal with, we don't want them to bring it in. We want to go to them or do it remotely. That's really the most effective way to work.
I mean, this is interesting for people looking for office space. If you indeed had a conference room here, do you think that you'd have enough business to support that? Or do you think that would add to your
it's a good question.
Features of what you could offer to a client?
A few people have asked for it, over the years, but it's really few and far between where it's usually people who assume that's the way we work. Like they bring something in for an upgrade and then they assume to get just general troubleshooting or trainings type support that they need to come back to our office. But then we explain to them, no, our main business is like we come to you or we work remotely. We traditionally haven't done it because it's like an open floor plan, as you guys know, being here. But for listeners, I mean, you walk in and it's an open floor plan for the workbench area, the desk where Tim sits and does remotes and other things, our other sort of bench seat for our other technician. And then Judy's desk for the reception area is like all one big open space. So there's nowhere really out there for people to sit. But when they bring in a computer for a quick consultation, they'll sit at the Genius bar, basically our little bar there, countertop, where we can just have a one-on-one conversation with them. But if it goes beyond a quick meeting, it's a little bit disruptive because Judy's taking a call behind them. Tim's taking a call behind me. He's trying to be on a remote with the client. We're trying not to interfere with that.
So let's explore that a little bit more because this is actually interesting. So what you're saying is your office, the way you've conceived it or the way it's sort of evolved over time, is it's a workspace and less of a place to necessarily receive clients and work with clients on an ongoing basis. So what would be your advice to Sam in looking for a new space? Do you think he should look for something that can do both? Or do you think, let's say if Sam, speaking for Sam, who's standing right here, if he envisioned it more as a place to sort of interact with clients versus a workspace for you, for Judy, for Tim to work on the computers, that's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, so then further to my description of the office, my office there's a closing door. So,
this is a luxury for you to sit here
in this space, right? And it's not somewhere where I'd want to necessarily invite a client in to sit and have me work with them in my office. First of all, I wouldn't be at my desk. I'd be sitting on the other side of my desk, side by side with the client. And then that's the only thing I can do for that period of time. So if I'm doing that, I'd rather go to them. I'd rather be on site, I think. Really, for most of that type of thing, I would rather just be remote. If they can bring their computer to me and have me give them service in all the ways that they need, the list of questions are all within the scope of their Mac, let's say, I'd rather just remote into their Mac. I'd rather not have them bring the Mac here, because again, I guess it's just more efficient for me to be able to do multiple things at once through a remote.
I'm not trying to give you a hard time, but this is interesting to me because your office, I mean, this is a grand space and this is a really cool thing to have, but somebody might come in here, let's say a business planner, and say, oh no, all this stuff needs to go out. We need to put a few cubicle tables where people can work with people, and all of a sudden the business gets retooled for you're dealing with people to do walk-in and do sit-down tutorials.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if we were set up a little bit differently, where we had multiple cordoned off spaces that were soundproof, and that's the main thing, and each were set up with a desk where two people could sit side by side to work on some technical issue, or maybe across from each other, but typically it would be side by side. Maybe I'd think about it differently, but I really think about when I'm with a client face to face, it monopolizes my time. It's 100% focus on that one task. I'm not going to get a call and talk to another client while another client is standing there. I'm not going to do that when I'm in their house or their office, and I'm not going to do that when they're standing in my office with me. And I'm not going to check my email. I'm not going to do other things while that client is sitting there, regardless of whether they're on site with me or I'm on site in their location. That monopolizes my time. So I'd rather not do that at all. I'd rather be 100% remote if I could help it, because I could work more efficiently. The way I would define that, when a client can bring the computer to me and I can work with them here in my office on site, face to face, I might as well just do that same visit remotely, because if all they need to bring me is their Mac, that means I can remote into their Mac and do everything I can do as if I were there in person.
So I think you're more like my business than you want to admit.
Like, why do I even need an office? To
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Joe, I'm looking for space if you want to move out.
Well, I realize that, like, strictly speaking, this is not like an efficient use of space. Like, I'm not maximizing like my dollars per square foot in using like this entire space to. I basically pace from one side of my office to the other,
It's an
and
empire.
I pace around my desk with my headset on. Right. I mean, but that, like, I can do that. I have my big screen Mac on my desk, and I can check my email and respond to somebody while the client is talking to me about their issue in my ear. I'm sorry to burst anybody's bubbles, but they think they're getting my full attention, right? When they're on my headset. Frankly, we all know that's not the case. They're doing other stuff too. You know, I see their little message icon pop up on their Mac that they're texting and stuff like that. So, you know, I don't think anybody's, you know, fooling each other, but it feels like this is a good use of space for me to have this level of comfort to do my job here.
In a way, I mean, you're kind of staking this as your domain, and when the clients come, they're kind of, I don't know, they're kind of intruding on your personal space in a way, you know, because this is where you want to be. You can come drop something off, but don't stay too long.
Don't stay too long.
But where do you land, Sam? Would you be designing something that's more customer focused or more echoing Joe's layout?
Well, I plan to have at least a third of my space dedicated to a telemarketing business I'm going to run so that we can make some money to earn the extra income.
I think I've found malware on your computer.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you know where I'm going with this. There's good money in that, by the way. Not that I haven't tested the waters. That's something I've also struggled with because, as I said just a few minutes ago, I want to be able to utilize that space to earn more money. So what does that tell me? I need to have the ability to take people in, at least at first. I mean, for me, I'm not saying for you, but yeah, I think we could do some hardware repairs here. But could I do that on site? Some of it, possibly. But it's certainly better with all the tools that you have and the setup that you have with your bench here. Depending on the space I get, too, would lend myself to having a place where we could provide some one-on-one support. I don't think it would be me. I think it would be Matt or whoever else we're going to hire. I think that would be in my scope of where I want to land that space to be used for.
Mm-hmm. So then to play devil's advocate, or maybe just to, you know, reiterate my side of things, if you have clients coming to you, how do you see that representing maybe like more income when you could just easily go to them? Like the argument could be made, it saves you time and travel. And that seems like a small piece of it.
We do travel kind of a distance sometimes in Fairfield County where we are. Not great distances.
But would you tell a client who's 45 minutes away, you got to come see me?
We don't bill for travel for anything under an hour.
We don't either for anything in Fairfield County.
That would actually help us in that way, in that, let's say it's a half-hour drive and they will want to come to us. Yeah, I'd save that consulting end, whether it be me or the person that's, let's say it's Matt, or we'd have to drive out there and charge for mileage or something.
So you think you could bill more efficiently, basically. So save your 30-minute drive to the client. They come to you instead. You could have back-to-back appointments scheduled in the office. There's no travel time accounted
for a couple people, if I have two technicians that can support at the same time, if the space allows for it. I have Charles Edge in the back of my head talking about you've got someone walking up with an iMac, they slip on some ice and they crack their elbow and now you're being sued.
Well, that's what insurance is for. Anyway. I mean, his whole point about like razor blades and barbed wire and I don't know, like needles and things.
Getting stuck with a syringe in the parking lot. That happened to me coming in here tonight.
Right. That was my syringe, Jerry. Sorry.
You'll hear from my attorney in the morning.
I'd still think just looking at the hours billable, a client might say, I'll come to you. Like, and then, can you see me right away? It's not necessarily. That doesn't help me that much, that like you're saving me 20 minutes or 30 minutes in the car, I've struggled with this because I have meetings in my dining room. We talked with Andy Espo, another great guy who's like, I do that all the time and it works out great for us. It hasn't worked out negatively for me. I mean, I trust the people coming in my door, but still that's where my family lives, I would like to have that separation though. And I think it's probably just peace of mind in that respect. And maybe I'm just paying for that peace of mind. The question is that fee worth it on a monthly basis?
I think it's geographic too. For the amount of times that I've had people express an interest to come and meet with me, there hasn't been that much of a motivation or a drive. The numbers haven't been that high where I've thought like, geez, I need to at least get some co-opted space. And there is some local co-opted space that I could use, but it's never been that much where I've needed to change up.
Because you might as well just go to them. Is that what you're saying? Like if they say they want to meet you first?
My business model is very similar to yours. And I'm really struck by that, hearing you tonight, being in your office and saying, well, yeah, this is a place where we do our work. It's our workspace, but it's not necessarily a place that we want to entertain and work with customers.
Just to be clear, it's not a place where we work with customers one-on-one in the sense of like consultation,
Right.
but we do work with customers remotely and a remote consultation from here. And we do work with customers on their labor repairs for computers they drop off here. It's just interesting to me, that's your assumption that this would be a place to like meet with people. And because the customers have been, like I said, very few that have thought like, well, can I come to you? It's been like 2 that I can think of.
Okay, so it's been very similar to what I've experienced then.
Right.
There's
exactly.
not that much opportunity.
Exactly. And that's not really the opportunity that I saw in having an office space. It was more like a place to do labor, to do repairs and stuff, to have people drop off and pick up stuff, which helps a lot, actually, like not having to drive somewhere just to drop something off and then feel like I don't want to charge a client for that.
And quite honestly, experientially speaking, they're used to going to the Apple store to do that. To sit down and maybe get a brief tutorial or work out some problem. Is it in your best interest to try to model yourself after that? No, absolutely not, because there's no money there.
That's a great way to look at it too, because we set ourselves apart from Apple by saying, we come to you, we remote into your computer, we work directly with you. You don't have to come to us. That distinguishes us from the Apple store.
But Sam, am I correct in saying that you have a mandate that you need to find this office, or do you have the option based on the funding that you're getting to not get that office? It's just simply picking up another employee.
Part of that funding has to go towards office space.
Right,
now,
so
we could decide, I could listen to our friend Charles Edge and say no, and we could decide no, and then that part of the funding would not be applied, or we'd have to give it back.
Right.
With no penalty, as long as we didn't utilize it. The idea is to get 100% of that funding, we need space, and we need a signed lease at some point soon. We're working through the numbers on our end. We've decided. And by the way, there are options for this in this area to do 1 or 2 year lease if we want to, whereas normally you see 3-5 year leases. So knowing that, having that in mind, that sets me a little bit more at ease to say we could test the waters and see what it goes like. And if after the grant money dries up, or if we don't work out on that end, we can pack up our bags and go back to my dining room if we really had to. I'd rather not start moving around from place to place. I'd like to find a home. At least we have that option, and I don't have to be scared out of my wits that we could be bleeding money if things don't work out.
Well, I don't know how off the rails this show actually was.
Not super off the rails. There's a couple other show ideas I wanted to introduce to you guys as we wrap up here, our 200th episode. We've talked about this one too, admin or no admin. Admin being a sort of shorthand term for administrative assistant, I guess, receptionist, office manager. Judy is our operations manager, so she's going beyond office management. Having an administrative person, like whether to do that or not. And I get, again, I think that relates a lot to whether to do an office at all. Having an office, it's nice to have an admin, vice versa. We've mentioned that before, like having people drop stuff off. If you're on site and somebody wants to drop something off, now you've got to coordinate when you're going to be in the office, and schedules change and it's complicated. If you have an admin, there's somebody staffing your office now. An admin is really helpful because it can help you just be able to bill out more efficiently your day. Those are my thoughts on it, but I know there's a lot of thoughts about that. And Jerry, you run very lean, for example. Sam, you're kind of somewhere in the middle. And then I have this massive overhead of office and admin and et cetera, et cetera.
I go back real quick to the office space because I was just thinking about it.
Change your mind again, Sam?
No.
Sure.
No, but it wouldn't be surprising. You have a place to keep an eye on them when they're not on site. For my instance, if Matt wants to do remote, he can do it from his house. And while I trust him and he does a great job, it's nice to have a space where I can, let's say, keep an eye on my employees, especially if that's going to grow by a couple of people. Just thinking back, as I don't want to miss that point to discuss that. I think that's an important one too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a place for people to show up. It's like you're working today, you report to work here. That's where work is. And then again, it's, we live in this modern world where telecommuting for any normal job is actually not uncommon anymore. And in fact, Judy works remote once a week, and, Tim works remote occasionally as available, and I do too. So we all kind of enjoy the benefits of being able to do that and switch things up. The default is show up here and punch in, so to speak. This is where you're showing up for work. It would be hard to go back when I think about it, but then again, what would we do? We would just work remotely. We would each be set up at our own individual space, and we'd work remotely, and we probably wouldn't do labor anymore. If it needs an upgrade, maybe we would outsource it somewhere or do it on location or have them drop it off or pick it up and bring it back home. as Apple's designs shift over time, there'll be less upgrades down the road. So, this office may be not long for this world, in fact. Last show idea was heroic stories. I don't know I think, Jerry, did you bring this one up? Heroic stories, keep them in mind. Maybe listeners have some ideas about things that they've been through that were like particularly heroic. My pet topic is like the underappreciated ones where like the client has no way of appreciating just how heroic it was. Yeah. We do. So we can all sort of share our stories together.
Well, as we close tonight, we'd like to thank everyone for the last 2+ years of support, celebrating here our 200th show. We couldn't do it without you. We really, really appreciate you coming every week to download and listen to Command Control Power. You are ultimately the reason why we do this.
Thank you all, especially to our patrons, for supporting us financially over the years. We really, really appreciate it. It is really, strictly speaking, a labor of love when it comes down to it. We're not really recouping the time we put into it. We love doing it, and we love putting it out there for the community. We know that you guys and gals appreciate our back catalog of shows. We've produced now 200 shows here. We have quite a catalog of shows going back several years now. I think we started in like 2013, maybe. Has it been 3-4 years now? Speaking of the back catalog, we are so honored that everyone seems to enjoy it. We get a lot of feedback that people go back and listen to like every show we put out. We're thinking that's really a gift to the community. Up until now, it's just been out there and we've left it out there for free. It's going to become a patron-only feature from now on. So if you'd like to have access to the back catalog of shows, we really encourage you to become a patron. You can become a patron for as low as a few dollars per month. Just check us out at commandcontrolpower.com and click on support to become a patron. And you'll be among a very elite group of awesome consultants. We'd love to have you as a patron, and you will get access to our back catalog. Just for the record, back catalog of past shows is going away. Will become available only to patrons going forward. So thank you all so much for your support and for listening. We hope you will continue to listen to Command Control Power for years to come. So again, support us at commandcontrolpower.com. Click on support. And most of all, thank you so much for listening.
Of customers of all kinds.
Am I on the cloud?
Joe spins his deeply detailed yarns all the time.
I have a whole story about this.
Sam is on the road again, phoning in from a hotel.
At least we know where I am.
Half a century